Hello, welcome back. Welcome to Gulotta Studios. I'm David Gulotta. We're here working on Mammoth Cave in emotional colors rather than natural colors. You can see here this is a bright one. We worked on this last week and we're going to continue working on it as long as my microphone continues to behave. So here we are working on natural colors back here, but this one is not in natural colors. These were the proper shapes. This is Audubon Avenue in Mammoth Caves, but I'm working on it in a way that expresses how I felt. So it's more of an emotional portrait of the cave rather than a natural color depiction of the cave. The series, which is 30 paintings deep, is half and half. So we're going to get going here and start working on this piece. Now with these kinds of colors, what I really want to do is I want to focus here on the background. I want to go from the back to the front. That way anything that's in front of something can just be painted over it, and that's a little easier than trying to work in little details around here. So I'm going to try to make things a little easier on myself. So here we go. Let's see how that works. So I'm not going to need the magenta so much. I'm not going to work on that as much today, but I am going to need my Prussian blue, which is Old Holland. And this is a very deep blue. It's a crazy blue. And it can be used for both shadow and for details. We're going to do that both with this particular color. I'm also going to need my Schwenningen blue, which is a phthalo blue. And that's a beautiful, almost like a Bic pen kind of blue. It's a real favorite for me. I love it. That can also be a little shadowy, but it doesn't have to be, which is always good. And then I have some King's blue here. This old tube. Yeah, this old thing. Oh my goodness. Fortunately, there's plenty of blue in there. Some of my tubes get pretty beat up. And then because this is a very cool colored painting, I don't really want to warm it up too much. So I'm going to avoid using my usual favorite white, which is a bone white. But I'm going to use titanium white, which is a much cooler white, like a snow kind of white. It's very, very bright, very, very cool. So that's what I'm going to use to tint the blues that I'm going to need back here. If I don't do that, if I use a warmer white, it's not gonna look right. Now I don't have to worry about highlights back in here so much because it's a little more shadowy than that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna divvy out all the white so that I can get my different blues here going. So first we're going to start off by wiping off the knife. It's always good to have rags with you. And I'm going to take a chunk of the King's blue. I like to go from mixing light colors to dark colors. It's kind of the opposite of the way I like to paint. I like to paint starting with dark colors and going into light colors so that the shadows recede automatically. Makes it a little easier. So now I've got a paler version of that King's blue. As you can see, it's a very bright blue. And that might end up being useful, even if I just mix it into some of the other colors to make them a little more opaque. Then I want to grab some of that Schwenningen blue, which is a very deep blue. It starts off very deep. I'm just going to mix it into the white here. And that turns it from being a transparent dark blue into an opaque medium blue, which is what I want. I don't want like a light blue. I've already got light blue, but I want a nice medium blue like that. So this is a brighter version of that color. Oh wow, look at that. I made a mistake. I forgot. I want to add just a little bit of my soft glow medium. Now this is a medium that I make myself. It's my own formula. Sometimes my students and my apprentices buy some from me. You know, I don't charge anyone too much for that. You know, there's no need for that. I'm just using just a little bit. I don't want too much medium, because that causes problems later on for the painting, and sometimes for while you're painting. You know, too much medium sometimes means that your painting layers won't adhere properly, and that can be real trouble. Right there, that's trouble. So you just want to use a little bit of medium. There we go. I'm just going to mix it in lightly with the palette knife. Not worried about getting it super even. We'll let chemistry do that. There we go. And I'm going to mix it into the raw King's Blue. Get that prepared. And now, yes, let's get into that medium blue. So I've got 6 colors that I'm working with here today. That'll be good. That'll help. There we go. And they're also going to be mixed with each other on the canvas. Now I'm going to my darker blue. There. Now I want this Prussian blue here, and I want that mixed in with white. There we go. And this is going to make a very different kind of blue, almost like a light indigo. Almost. But it's got a very different character to it than the other blues that we've got here. So we have 3 very different blues. The Prussian blue raw looks almost black on the video. And here's what it comes out to be once it's been properly mixed. So hopefully you were able to see that. It can be difficult. And that also turned it from a transparent color to an opaque one. And now I'm finally mixing in medium into the Prussian blue itself in case I need to darken something. It's the main shadow color of this painting. Normally I would use Payne's gray, but I wanted to really make this into a study of these particular colors. Now, last time when I worked on this, last week, I used larger brushes. This time I'm using smaller ones. This painting automatically gets right into these little details, and so I want to start capturing those. But before I start, I would like to say thank you to all of my subscribers. Your support really, really helps. And yeah, it's moral support. It's not financial support. That's okay. I like moral support. That's good. That's really good. And I hope that all of you enjoy these videos. And I would also like to say to my new subscribers, welcome, welcome, welcome to Gulotta Studios. I tend not to mention names because, you know, without permission, I can get into trouble. I don't want that. But know that I see, and I am very grateful. So thank you very much for tuning in here at YouTube, here at Gulotta Studios. Well, let's get the painting, shall we? There we go. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to use a small filbert brush. That's what I'm going to start off with right away. And these are bristle brushes made by Essex. I haven't seen them in a while. I don't even know if they're still around, but you know, they were when I was buying these. And I'm going to be using that medium blue that I've got here. And I'm just going to follow these brush strokes that I have, because there are these really neat details that were deep in the rock here. And I just want to bring them out just a bit. Was on live this morning on Facebook. That worked out very nicely. Had some very interesting conversations with people as well. I do answer questions when I'm on there. You know, sometimes it takes me a minute to see that comments have come up, but I get to them. I do. I promise. You know, I do get to them. You know, there are all these ridges and little divots in the rock here. And I want to capture all of that. I want to capture these little divots in the rock. There we go. And Mammoth Cave is just a wonderful subject. I enjoy working on these cave paintings. I'm just going to get this here. So there's a hint of some shelf going on back in there. You see there's a shadow up in here. There's some lighter spots here and there. And I just want to bring out the shapes. And again, I'm going back and forth here a bit. A lot of these shapes were all formed by water, because this used to be a river. There is the thought. This used to be a river running underground. And the river is still there. It's just much, much lower. You have to go down pretty deep to find water again in Mammoth Cave. Because the river starts digging its way from rainfall through the ground into the cracks in the ceiling of the cave. And as it carves its way through the stone, it goes deeper and deeper as it finds more stone to dissolve. And the main stone that dissolves with caves is limestone. And you end up with these very interesting shapes, kind of like a river canyon underground. It's really fascinating. I just can't get enough of it. There are these big rocks down here, all these little boulders and things. I just want to make sure that I got my footnotes in from when I was painting in the cave itself, because these were started as impressionistic paintings that I'm now bringing into focus, which is a hallmark of the style that I'm using, which honestly is my own. I'm not sure if anyone else is doing this. And if they are, I'm in good company. It really is a nice method for getting details in. I just want to make sure that these darker areas are not left alone. I'm going to stop about there. I got to make decisions. I might continue onward. Not 100% sure of that yet. Some of these areas are going to need extra work with color. But I want to make sure some paint is there, just so that the paint can pick up and influence those colors. I like to work in layers. I like mixing paint on the canvas as well as on the palette. Don't really consider one superior to the other. Some people do. They'll swear by one technique or the other. But it certainly works well for this. And that's what's important. I like being flexible depending on what I'm doing. Here we go. Go all the way up to the ceiling there. I got the ceiling and the floor both in magenta. There we go. Because it was exciting. Magenta is a very glowing color. It's a very exciting color. And I wanted to capture some of that excitement. All right, I'm beginning to see how this is going, so now I'm going to make some decisions, and I'm going to actually continue onward with this blue just for a few more minutes, so please bear with me while I do this. There we go. Get them in. And doing oil painting is a very time-consuming process. It really is. It can take a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a lot of energy. And having a nice ergonomic chair helps. Believe me, that really does. If you're sitting while you paint. Sometimes I stand. If I have like a large painting, or I'm using one of my taller easels, I will stand while I paint. But when I'm sitting, oh, it's got to be in an ergonomic chair. Otherwise, I'm going to be hurting the next day. These rocks back here. Make sure these rocks look different from the rocks that are up front. These are magenta rocks up front. You know, maybe I'll mix some of those colors later, but I have to establish the forms first. That's the first thing I've got to do, is establish what's there, which shape. And that requires shadow and light being placed properly. So I got these very dark zones in here too. Very dark. There we go. That'll be good. Let me get in these little shapes up in here. So we're just working with blues today. We're not going to be working with any of the magentas. And I'm only working with the corridor wall here rather than the other wall, which curved around. That one's got its own color scheme. Although I wanted its influence felt throughout the painting. There we go. All right, we like that. Yes, we do. We like it just like that. There we go. Let me get this layer of rock in here. Boulders and stuff. And big wall back here, which has all kinds of bumps and divots. These bristle brushes hold a lot of color, which is good, because I don't want too much all at once. There we go. Get that in. Get that up. I got all these really nifty shapes up in here. Yeah, I use that word. Yeah, I do. Because it is nifty. Even if no one else thinks so, I think so. I think it's very nifty. And I was very careful about the general shapes that I saw in the cave while doing this. When I was down there working live underground. That was a very fascinating experience. I'll never forget that. That was crazy. It was great, but wow. That was intense. It was very intense work. And I really wanted to capture some of that intensity in the colors that I chose. It's like a sky made of stone. That was what this was like. It was like walking in a valley with a sky that was all stone. It was fascinating. Fascinating. Well, I think so anyway. I think it's fascinating. I love textures. I like painting textures. I like drawing textures. The nice thing about oil painting of this kind of detail is that I'm doing both. I'm drawing and I'm painting all at the same time. They don't have to be mutually exclusive, though people sometimes think that they are. They're not. You know, there's a lot of painting that is really just drawing with color. That's really what it is. I'm going to go to my taboret here and clean off my brush real quick. Now with blues this strong, I'm probably not going to go back to this brush for what's next. I'm going to have to clean it. I don't want it to influence too much of what else I've got going here. So I have another filbert brush. And this one, I'm going to start with that medium Prussian blue. And just get it on the tip of the brush. You don't really want it, you know, so let's see. Ah, there's the camera. You know, you don't want it to get down to the metal here. That's always a bad move. So here I'm going to mix this a little bit into the rest of this. There we go. Start getting this color in. I want to darken it a little bit, so I'm going to add a little more of the Prussian blue to it, just directly on the canvas here. There. I want that a little bit more shadowy. There we go. And a little bit more. And the nice thing about that is I can add it directly with the brush, since it's the same color that I had used to make the light color. I used the Prussian blue. So adding a little bit of the Prussian blue to what's already there is not a problem. You just mix it right on the brush. Right there. And now we've got some deeper shadowy pieces back in here. There we go. That's better. That's better. So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a little bit of both right on the brush and just deepen it. Just get a little bit deeper for where it needs to be. Oh, there we go. I like that. Let's see. Yeah. You know, always be ready to experiment when you're painting. You don't know. You might come up with something that you've been looking for years. If you don't experiment, you'll never find it. So I do like to experiment while I'm painting. There. All right, let's get some more of that Prussian blue. Light Prussian blue. That in here. Just to get these ridged masses in here without destroying all of my lights. You don't want to destroy all the light colors. Just like you don't want to destroy all dark colors. If everything's the same tone, it's not going to look like anything. You're going to lose so much. So, you heard it here. Don't do that. Oh, there. Just want to give the illusion this is going back into the crevice there. Just back and forth. Mixing the colors together. Getting them in there. Just pull this out on the edge right here with the paint that's right on the brush. Look at that. I don't have to dip the brush or anything. There. Yeah, now we're getting some stability in these colors. All right, a little Prussian blue light with a little Prussian blue medium. And let's get some of these little shapes in here. There we go. In this way, this foreground object can be painted in on top of this. So I don't have to worry too much about covering over any part of it, because I'll just reestablish it later on. And it'll be fine. It'll work just fine. There we go. See, I've got some lighter colors here, so I'm just gonna put that in just to dirty them a bit with that not Payne's gray, listen to me. That Prussian blue. There we go. Yeah, we're just gonna put some of that Prussian blue in there. Just lightly. I just want to bring in some details here. Because this area is much better lit. And so you're going to see more of the colors. So you don't want it too dark. There we go. And this goes off into the distance here. Kind of murky. You know, they keep the lighting to a minimum there to protect the stone from algae and stuff like that. You know, I've seen some of the other places where they turn on lights like crazy, colored lights and everything. And really, the cave doesn't need colored lights. The colors are there. They're already beautiful. And then they end up with algae covering the stone. That hurts the formations. It really does. It damages them over time. Plants are very tenacious, and they have little roots that dig into everything. So, not that I don't like plants. I love plants dearly. But not on my cave walls. And they're only there because of the light. You know, you walk into a cave and, you know, if the cave is exposed to a lot of light, any plant material that's on your clothing, on your sneakers, any algae, and believe me, there is, you know, the bottoms of your shoes going to have some algae there and other bits. You know, maybe you were walking through the woods that day and picked up plant spores. They'll start sprouting right in the cave. Right there, they'll just start going to town because they're getting light. The water is already there. The minerals are certainly there. You know, limestone. I mean, good heavens, a lot of calcium in that. So, a lot of carbon. So they got air, and they'll grow. So the real way to prevent that is to keep the lights low, or to turn them off as people pass by. So they do tours and people pass by, then they turn off the lights when everyone is passed. And so behind you, when you're doing these tours, everything is dark. You know, right where you are, it's lit. It's certainly lit enough for you to walk around in. A little bit more of this here. A little bit lighter as it comes forward. Always thinking about where your lights and darks are. And this is still not detailed. This is not a detailed area yet. That's going to come in the next layers. Everything is layers with me. I don't like doing instant paintings. Every now and then I do. Every now and then it's like my hand takes over and says, "No, let's just do this now," but not with these. Not with something like this. With this, I want to be more careful and judicious about where I place my colors. I want to pick spots that make sense. There we go. If I gotta blend something, I'm gonna take my time with it. No sense in being in a rush. And especially with oil painting, I mean, what's the rush? Yeah, it takes long to dry, so use that. Use it to your advantage. It's not a disadvantage. I've seen slow drying time as listed as a disadvantage of oil painting. It is not a disadvantage. Not if you use it properly, then it's an advantage that it's slow in drying. That's my opinion anyway. All right. Now we've got those colors in. I want to come in with some of this blue. And it's a brighter blue. So I'm actually going to work in the opposite direction. I'm going to bring this in right in there. And as I blend it into place, it's going to blend with the other colors like that, make them smoother. The one spot I don't want to do is I don't want to get into the really light patches, because that won't help anything. I want this blue right where it belongs. There we go. Get that in there. And we're going to continue to bring the focus in. Wherever it might be, bring these stones into focus. And you can see there are already areas that are going to be much lighter. So I'm going to have to grab another brush And I'm just going to do that right away, rather than wait. I'm going to bring them in so that they can blend in with that other blue. There we go. Yeah, 2 colors at once. Why not? This way I don't lose any of my little footnotes. Those are important. And just, oops, dropped the brush. No big deal. You never put a studio anywhere near a floor that you care about. If you want your floors pristine and beautiful for guests and whatnot, don't put your studio easel anywhere near there. You're going to drop brushes, you're going to drop paint, you're going to drop all kinds of things, and you'll be all upset with yourself. Yeah, no need for that. You know, use a drop cloth if you've got one. They're easy to find. You know, any hardware store will have them, any good paint shop will have them. There we go. Just going to bring some of this light here and there. Just a little. There we go. I'm going to bring it into the middle of this piece of stone here. And a little bit on this one here. There. You can see what I'm going for at this point. So let's continue onward. Onward. Here we go. Bring this in. There. There. That's nice. You have all these little details in these walls. This way I'm preserving them so that when I come back to this painting, I can really get those details in nicely. And here I'm establishing where those details go. That's all I'm doing here. Just establishing them. Certainly making these videos on Wednesdays has been very nice. I've been enjoying doing that. It matches with my live feed, which is on Facebook. That's also done Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock. Yeah, check it out if you'd like. If you want to see my other works, I do have a website, gulottastudios.com. You can always look there and see where I've been, what I've done, what I've worked on in the past, other series. Some series I don't put onto YouTube or Facebook because of rules. Some of them do contain nudes. I'll warn you about that now. You know, don't want anyone coming back to me going, hey, I didn't want to see that. Then don't look. You know, nudes don't bother you. By all means, take a gander at what I'm doing. Yeah, I mixed these 2 brushes up. That's funny. That's okay. That's okay. You know, again, we're working a lot with blues here, so it's not as big a deal as it might have been had I been working with, you know, green and red and orange and yellow and, you know, all that. And then I'd be like, oh no, I have to correct this. But this works out very nicely since these colors are related. Yeah, I'm just going to bring in this block here. Block of stone sitting here. Get that in there. You know, I'd also like to thank the students who come to the studio and the students who work with me on Skype. Thank you very much for being part of the studio. interested in that kind of lesson, because I do video lessons, just contact me via Gulotta Studios at Gmail, and we'll see what we can do. It's not always easy teaching this stuff on video, but it can be done. I have done that. Drawing, painting, all that stuff. I just want people to have the opportunity to pursue their interests. There, I'm just gonna get these. I like the way that color is mixing with the others. It's doing a nice job getting the sense of depth that I need here. And I see I've got to switch again. Switch over to this color, bring that in. Mix in some of this, blend it in a little. There we go. Now I can come in with the light colors. Get them blended in a bit. Some blocky stone sitting here. Everything is angled. There we go. Good. Ooh. I'm going to switch brushes back into this blue. And again, I'm not going for high detail at this point. Not yet. That comes later. Later on, I can start working with details. Right now, I'm just establishing form, blocking in from the sketch. That's all I'm doing, just blocking it in from the sketch. Alright, let's switch on over. We got our light color here. See, there's a light patch here. It came over. And maybe it stuck out a little bit. Come into here. Bring that across. Platform of stone there. There's an edge here. Another little edge here. There we go. There. Now I've got some nice rocks established at the base here. I'm just going to continue forward right in here, but I'm going to get a little darker as this continues. There's going to be some spots that are still nice and bright, but as this goes away into the distance, I'm not going to need that light color so much. A little bit here and there, but not much. Put some in here. A little bit in here, just to bring that out, just a hair, just a little, just to let me know what I need to focus on the next time I'm working here. And that'll be next week. It's part of my plan to kind of video document how these paintings were made. That's the plan, anyway. So I got to establish these shapes. So I'm going to continue painting these paintings here on YouTube. Each one at a time until they're all done. Just a touch of light. Just a touch, just to show that there were like these little long streaky strips of stone back there. All right, so we've got a brighter to a slightly darker. I want to brighten that up just a touch, just a little bit. Just so it stands out. There we go. That's better. That's much better. Good. All right, now I got to do the same thing with this layer here. So here we go. Fasten our seat belts. I'm going to work from here. I'm going to go right into this stone here. So in a way, these colors are almost like representing the water that has already passed. Which was my intention. This is a corridor built on water as it passed through the stone. To me, it sounds romantic. But now that I've gotten my routine established, I can actually move forward a little easier into these back areas where it's going to get darker and darker. There, like that. Now, let me take the white and do this little strip, well, white and light blue. All right, light blue here, and get this streaked in. Again, not really going for details. I am going for what can be seen. Well, it's blocked in. Get these forms in there. There we go. Get that in there. Looks like that piece kind of came out from under the rock. There was always some surprise there. You know, a lot of people don't think of caves as having so. In fact, I think most people don't think of caves. Just as a general course. Yeah, just put in some little indications of light so we can go back to that later on and give them a little more character and detail. Little light bumps here and there because this was not perfectly smooth. There. All right, I've got that strip in. Now let's go to this one. And again, we're going to go to the blue and we're just going to bring it on through. There. Now I know sometimes these videos can be a little long. You know, I see a lot of short videos about painting. For me, I'd rather do long ones. I want to show what it's like to paint. You don't get a sense of that when it's zipping by so fast. You can't even tell what they're doing. Let's get some of this color in here. There we go. There's some of that right there. And you know, I'm actually going to go up to that. Why not? Why not? It needs to help too. And then I'll do the rest up here. lift that up a little bit. There we go. Just a little bit. This was a huge corridor. It stretched for, I don't know how long. It seemed like miles. Big. Yeah. Fits the name of Mammoth Cave. That's the whole point. As you can see, we've made some progress already today. That's always nice. I like it when I make some progress with my work. There we go. I'm just going to bring that in. Get some of these little details up here in. Like they're protruding bits of stone. And get back to that king's blue here. Mix that in with the others. And it changes the nature of the king's blue, which is what I want. I don't want a pure king's blue here. I want it merged with the other blues so it looks like it belongs. Otherwise it's going to look kind of funny. It's not going to have the same tone. It won't look like it's part of the same scene if everything looks too stark. So on the one hand, this painting is blue and magenta, but on the other hand, it's actually several different colors blended together to make the appearance of a unified scene of blue and magenta. Just a touch here. We get a little bit more, just a little bit more here. I really want to get that going there, and that one there. And I want to make them a little bumpier. So I'm going to shake my hand here a little. There. Just going to ripple a little bit. So a lot of that in the rock. There's ripples of carved stone. All right. We just got a little bit more to go, and then we got to let it rest. So let's get that done. Let's get it done here. This area was very bright. It was much brighter than the other areas. Bring it around. Bring that blue in. That needs a little bit of this. There. Yeah, may as well. May as well. Why not? Let's do that while I'm here. While I've got this going here. Let me bring this in. Just like that. There. That's much better. Good. All right, bring this one in. Just to color this up a little. And I'm going to keep switching back and forth. And sometimes this is just what you got to do. You got to keep going back and forth and back and forth. You'll see like in old self-portraits of like Rembrandt, he'll have like a dozen brushes in one hand just so he can switch between either colors or sizes. There, and just get that edging there. That edge is important. Get some of this further. Here we go. Yeah, so now we've got some real shapes in here. Don't want to lose all these darks. I love deep dark colors, rich colors. There we go. Bring that in, almost cloud-like. There. see how the colors mix right on the canvas. And mix with each other. Now here, if you've noticed, I haven't really gotten into that medium blue. And that's because at the moment, I don't really need it. Don't use a color if you don't need it. That's an important thing to keep in mind. Get that in. There we go. You know, as you go up into the ceiling, there are fewer details to notice. And as you come downward, you're going to notice more. There's going to be more items to see. Easier to see details. So you always got to be thinking about these things when you're painting. Just a little bit down in here. There's already some of that blue there. I had thought ahead of time and put some in. And now I am reaping the benefits of thinking ahead. Good. Alright, get some of this stuff way up in here. Now here I'm not going to have as much. I'm going to make this very shadowy. Very shadowy areas up in here. There we go. But now we have established the main shapes and details that are going to come in when we start getting into making those details a reality. There we go. Bring that in just a little bit. I want to tap that around there. And bring in a little more of that King's blue right here. Oh, and there's such a strong temptation just to keep going and going and going and going and going. But at some point I'm going to get to where the wetness of the paint is no longer helpful and it starts getting gloppy. So that's when you kind of know, it's time to stop. Time to stop just a bit. Just for a week. You know, give the painting a week to set. So now this is going to dry and set for a week. And when it's all ready, then we'll be able to work on the next set of colors, which will be the magentas. We'll let that set, and then the week after that, we work on this piece. And then we can start bringing everything into focus, as you'll see. So it might take 3 or 4 weeks for this painting to be finished, and I'm thinking 4, maybe 5. But you'll be able to see the entire process, except being in the cave. I didn't have this equipment back then. But you'll see the process itself as these paintings come to life. Well, let me just give you a little quick glance here. So you can see this is what we've done today. Is all of this. Get all these cloudy details in so I know what's happening with this rock wall. Alright, so I hope everyone has enjoyed this video on YouTube. Please subscribe if you haven't. If you have, keep on watching, and thank you again. Hope you all have a wonderful week, and from Gulotta Studios and myself, happy painting everyone, and take care.